Hi, this is Dr. Nancy Brandt, and I'm so excited to present to you safe and effective veterinary medical aromatherapy. I'm the pioneering veterinarian in this field, and so today we're going to give you just a sampling of what veterinary medical aromatherapy is and also what it could do. So in 1997, I started speaking on the safe and effective use of aromatherapy for animals, and at that time I didn't have any other veterinarian to study with, and so I began my studies with other aromatherapists. So the reason I stepped out and began teaching is that I recognized and it took me a while to recognize this, but I recognized finally that I was not going to find a veterinarian to study with or a book to read or something to go to. And in fact, one of my mentors actually said to me that I was the person that I had been looking for. So through many, many years of using aromatherapy very successfully and very safely, I became that pioneering veterinarian. And because of that, I decided to start to teach. So I do offer classes in veterinary medical aromatherapy, and I just expanded into an organization called Veterinary Medical Aromatherapy Association, and we'll talk about those at the end. So aromatherapy is the use of smells, and it's been around for a very long time, and in fact there are some countries that actually use aromatherapy in their medical schools and in their hospitals. And so what I'm talking about today is that therapeutic veterinary medical aromatherapy, which is to a certain degree the pharmaceutical use of distilled, unadulterated, therapeutic grade essential oils. And the techniques are going to go beyond aromatherapy candle or aromatherapy bath. And again, we're going to talk about different techniques for application. And it's still an emerging industry in the veterinary world. And we're going to talk about the 2,000 case studies that I've compiled to look at what we could be thinking about using these for, what I have used these for, and what are some of the safer methods and some of the side effects that we should be considering. So Kurt is one of my mentors, and he's an individual who's a brilliant chemist who is very dedicated to essential oils, not only from the standpoint of their place in the world and how they are the molecules that truly nature developed to speak directly to the biology of other animals and the biology of each other and the biology of insects, but also because he was very dedicated to understanding the true purity of these essential oils and also how they can be adulterated in such a way that they can trick some of the machinery for testing, and what he had to do in order to find out about those sorts of little tricks to make sure that the oil is a true, genuine, pure essential oil, because those are the oils that give the results that I'll be speaking to. And another individual that I really enjoyed being able to read their books, I wasn't able to mentor with them, is Shirley and Len Price. And so these quotes I love. Each plant is a vibrant chemical factory capable of transforming the electromagnetic rays from the sun into energetic substances which are then available for the plant's use and, of course, for those animals that use the plants. And what's fabulous about this is that's truly taking energy and converting it to matter. And then Kurt says the essential oils are the distillant plant constituent molecules that possess a chemical intelligence that speaks directly to the organism. And later we'll talk about how this is the way that biology or biological systems will speak to each other. So a quick history, and again, this isn't my, I don't want to spend a lot of time here. A lot of this is very easy to find in a lot of different books, and we do spend a little more time on it in my 4-month course. But the Egyptians are considered the first to really discover the therapeutic potential of essential oils. And back 5,000 years ago, they would use terms like cleansing the flesh of a demon, being able to purify the flesh, things like that, because 5,000 years ago, medicine and illness and dis-ease actually was tied together very closely with religious beliefs. And so they were really coming about in religious ceremonies. And through the religious ceremonies, they were able to help individuals no longer be possessed by the fever. Okay, and so that's how we started to learn about essential oils. Then they were used widely throughout Asia and the Middle East. And then during the Dark Ages, a lot of this information was lost. And yet it is truly what was brought to the Christ child. And there was a reason this was medicinal power back then. And about 100 years ago, Dr. Gervais was credited with what is called the modern reemergence. And he was a chemist, and he was studying the chemical constituents of plant extracts, i.e. essential oils, and he found that they had very strong medicinal effects and went on to document those from a chemist's eye and then pass them on to other physicians who in France started to document them from the Western medical model. So what are some properties of what I'm terming truly pure essential oils? And we'll speak a little bit to making sure that you're using a pure, genuine, unadulterated, truly therapeutic essential oil. Otherwise, what you may be using is very adulterated. It might just smell good. It may be food grade or even perfume grade and not have any of these properties whatsoever. And again, in this time, we have to be very, very discerning as to what essential oils we truly do use. So first and foremost, one of the things that was discovered very quickly with essential oils is that they had the ability to create an environment that's detrimental to pathogens. So they're antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. They even have antihistamine and anti-inflammatory properties. And again, there's research to back a lot of what are on the screens here. I'm choosing not to include it because this is introductory. And essential oils have been shown to be effective against even antibiotic-resistant strains of bacteria. They promote and deliver negative ions, ozone, and oxygen to the tissues, so they have a regenerative nature. So one of the things with wound care and essential oils is not only is it decreasing the ability for any antimicrobials to grow in that arena, but it also helps the tissue to heal faster. They also, because they're lipid in nature, will create an environment of clear communication between all cells and all systems. And they actually were shown to clean off the receptor sites. They improve cell membrane function. They can deliver nutrients directly to the cell because they're lipid in nature. They're going to be able to cross the cell membrane. They're going to be able to heal the cell membrane better than something that is aqueous or water. They're going to enhance neurotransmitters and even modulate enzyme activity. And they create an environment then that's detrimental to cancer growth. There's research showing that they erase or deprogram misinformation in the cell's DNA. So they help to restore tissue and cells back to the set point, back to what is their normal programming. They help to balance emotions, and they're even used in psychotherapy for emotional releasing and even releasing stored memories. The limbic system is directly tied to the olfactory system and therefore is influenced by aroma more strongly than any other sense. And aroma has been found to be tagged together with storing memories, which is why animals will create their entire picture of the world and their whole reality based solely or almost completely on aroma. So what Kurt says is that the oils served as communication devices between organisms long before there were humans, and they also are expressions of the common roots of the very development of life. And so these biological systems grew up together, and the essential oil fragrances then became those volatile chemical signals from which man adapted learning and animals adapt learning, which fragrance signaled beneficial environments and which signaled danger. And so they're very linked through the instinctual brain. And so oftentimes essential oils, especially with animals, will just through one smell create a shift that's permanent, long lasting, and they never even have to smell that oil again. They detoxify fat tissue. They're lipid in nature, so they're going to promote fat tissue drainage and clear those impurities from that lipid matrix and even from the cell membrane. They help to modulate, and this is why I got involved with them, to modulate the human-animal bond, and that created collective consciousness. We all know that there is a special bond between the animal and their guardian, and that bond has created energetic exchanges between the two organisms. And those energetic exchanges sometimes will put undue stress on the pet. And I was looking for some sort of modality that would help me help the pet when I wasn't licensed to express to a guardian their need to stop some of their energetic patterns of anger, patterns of excessive worry. And so essential oils will mend those relationships, erase that negative energy, and even discharge that emotional toxicity. And so the pet then was freed up from having to absorb all of this energy, and the guardian felt better because the guardian was influenced because the guardian was using the essential oils with the animal. They also will palliate and neutralize the effects of the different pollutions, one of which is electromagnetic pollution, environmental pollutions, and then they actually help us to go more green. So they're a natural insecticide, they're a natural cleaner, they're a natural air purifier. And so using essential oils rather than chemically based products will enhance the life of the pet long term because they're not building such a toxic load. Again, we talked a little bit, air purification. They can electrically charge the air and disinfect the air. So they can clean impurities from the air and from fabrics without leaving a negative chemical side effect. And rather than just covering up an odor, they actually will neutralize an odor. And in my practice, one of the most beautiful things that I found is that cats won't recognize dogs being here. Dogs don't recognize cats being here or each other. They're calm. It's the number one thing I hear repeatedly over and over and over again is that animals that are normally completely anxietic elsewhere don't have the anxiety here. And it's because we smell different. We don't smell like the chemical cleaners. So essential oils can benefit animals at all stages of life. I use them in all of my protocols. I use them in all the areas of life. So my wellness programs, any preventative programs, any programs of palliation, my end of life programs, my hospice, even transition. I have ceremony for every one of these areas of life. And even celebration of life programs. So that can be at the time of transition or that can be at the time of birth. And one thing that I remember is that rainbows are only temporary gifts. And that's what I think of as our pets. So the more that I can benefit these pets at all stages of their life with something that they're biologically designed to recognize, take in, and receive, I have found that every single program that I instigate this with, every protocol for dis-ease that I instigate essential oils with every single time promotes better wellness, promotes better quality of life, and better quality of the relationship. And what is wellness? Isn't that what we're all looking for? We're really not looking for, I don't want this disease. I always say, okay, we don't want that dis-ease, so what do we want? Well, we want wellness. So what is wellness? It's really just a state of blissful production. And aromatherapy hits at all of those different levels within the biology of the organism in order to really create that blissful production. And pets are serving as sentinels for us. And the EWG, the Environmental Working Group, which I lectured about several years ago, you can look at that, actually showed evidence of significantly high levels of industrial chemicals in the tissues of our pets. So you can see it's sort of like that canary in the coal mine. And our pets are warning us. The numbers of dis-ease are warning us about the toxicity of our world. And so one of the things that we need to choose to do is choose now to decrease the toxicity within the internal environment and without in the external environment. Because dis-ease is really about the straw on the camel's back. It isn't any one thing that will crush us, usually. It's usually numerous things, and they're little tiny straws that we keep collecting on the back. So if you think of the back as the immune system and the systems of detoxification, they're designed to do what they do. But there's more and more straws that are collecting in these systems. Some of those we can control and others we can't. And the essential oils not only will help us control what goes into those as straws, because we'll use less toxins in our environment, but it actually can assist and help reverse or empty the straws that are there in the basket back out. So the Camel's back will last longer. And the things that I'm talking about, of course, are emotional pollution, electromagnetic pollution, environmental pollution, internal pollution, and overwhelmed systems. And all of this contributes to that last straw. And essential oils have the ability to touch on every part in every straw that is influencing the dis-ease of our pets, decreasing their wellness, and we can increase their thriving just by introducing essential oils at every step of the way. So this is bliss. This dog's hanging his head out the window, and you can see he's just taking in all the odors. Can you imagine? That's speed reading to a dog. So if we want to heal, we choose to listen to the voices of our souls. And the essential oils are the soul of the plant distilled. And the essential oils can talk to you, and they can talk to our pet, and often it will help you choose which essential oil to use. So some of the safety requirements are, one, that they should be an oil of pure and authentic, pure medical or therapeutic grade. And again, there's ways to find these out. You should educate yourself on the proper use of the different oils in each of the different species, and make sure that you're using the correct botanical name of the oil. So if someone said, I use lavender oil, you need to know what type of lavender oil in order to make sure that you can duplicate those results. You want to keep the oils out of reach of children and pets. I've had animals try to eat the bottles of oil because they so want them. And so you want to be careful that they can't get into them. I do use caution in pregnancy, and I'm very careful whether that's the animal that's pregnant or the guardian who's pregnant. And what I will say is, if you're pregnant, do not apply the oils, just to be on the safe side. There's lots of books written for aromatherapy during pregnancy, so we have things that can be very effective and safe, and it's better to err on the side of caution. And then also, different species will utilize the essential oils differently. So birds are animals that need very little aromatherapy, and that essential oil better be pure or it can kill it. One smell and you could damage the lungs of a bird. So it's just imperative that you're using a truly guaranteed pure essential oil. Also, if you're going to use a lot of essential oils and you have a lot of cats or you have a lot of birds or even dogs, and you want to really kind of use an overabundance of the fragrance, it's best just to give them an area where they can go to get fresh air, because they're so programmed for the olfaction to be their way of learning about their environment that we can overwhelm their olfactory system faster than we can ours. And so I say just give them an escape route. With birds, they need fresh air, so that if you're diffusing or using essential oils in their area, it's just important that they have fresh air, because they really just need a sniff of it and they're done. I do a lot of diluting, and again, in my course, we talk a lot about different times when I dilute, when I don't dilute, why I dilute, how much I dilute, etc. Always err on the side of less is better. So dilute, dilute, dilute. Again, educate yourself. Use proper techniques. That can be, again, that intense aroma is too much for them, or ingestion of some essential oils is not advised. Make sure that you are not putting essential oils on the feet of pets. It's not the same as humans. Not getting them in the ears or in the eyes. And the reason that we don't use the feet in animals are several reasons. They're not flat. It's the only place there's sweat glands. They're walking around barefoot and their feet aren't clean. And so essential oils will carry in any petrochemicals that are attached to the feet at the time that you place the oil on there. And again, we could be driving in toxins deeper into the body, even the blood system, when we didn't want to. Those feet are not flat, and so the oils can concentrate up into the folds and cause irritation. The animal can lick them and get them even more moist. So again, no feet, no ears, no eyes, not in pregnancy, nothing on the genitalia, and again, nothing in the orifices unless advised correctly. And some of the side effects that I have recognized in the past have been rashes. And often the rashes come about because we are mobilizing a detox reaction in the area. And so it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. Often those will come about when we're using a very concentrated essential oil and the animal is very toxic. Sometimes it will come about if we use an essential oil that has photosensitivity and the animal goes out and lays in the sun. And that's where we start to study each individual oil for its photosensitivity and then choose not to put that on the animal that is going to go lay out in the sun. The number one thing with a rash that I do is I'll use an Epsom salt poultice to help to do what we call vent the rash, help the body that brought toxins to the surface because of the nature of the essential oils and help pull that rash out. And so something as simple as 1 tablespoon of Epsom salts in 1 cup of warm water and going ahead and holding it on there anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes depending on what they let you do. So that's that simple little way to help aid the body in pulling these toxins out that the oil stirred up. So how do you trust the quality of the oil? The number one way to trust is when you're talking to the person who is selling you an oil, they should be able to assure you that they were involved from the selection of the seed to the planting of the seed to the harvesting of the seed, to the distilling of the essential oil, to the bottling, etc. They should be able to tell you that they themselves were involved in every step of the way. If not, then there's unfortunate practices along the way that could be creating a less than authentic essential oil. Such as a plant that's raised in a way that is not organic. A good example is when raspberries are raised in an inorganic, a non-organic setting, they do not have silvestrols. If they're raised organically, they create silvestrols. And those are known to be an anti-cancerous substance. Why would that be? The plant is not creating essential oils in order for us to bottle them and sell them. The plant is creating essential oils in response to the need to create them. If you are raising plants with a lot of insecticides and fertilizers, those plants may not have the need to develop certain chemistries. Another is the citrus oils with D-limonene, which is recognized again through research to be anti-tumoral. If it is a orange that's raised organically, it has a very high level of D-limonene. If it is not, it has a very low level of it. Again, the plant is going to create the essential oils for its own needs. The other is when the plants are not raised organically, they also will then have petrochemicals that are attached to them at the time of distillation, and those petrochemicals, being lipid in nature, oily in nature, will then be distilled with the essential oil and put into the bottle. And again, not safe for use. Choosing the seed, picking seeds from the healthiest plants, using evolutionary practices to create the healthiest, most vibrant, most productive plant over and over again. Distillation. Different distillation techniques produce different chemistry. If the person who's doing the distillation is not an artist at it, what is the end product may not be therapeutic. The intention. What is the intention behind raising this essential oil? Again, looking at the clinical experience with these essential oils. How long have these essential oils been used clinically, getting the same results over and over and over again? And then what kind of testing do they do for quality? They need to be able to tell you a lot of information here. If they can't, then you don't want to use those essential oils with animals. Because with animals, toxicity builds up faster in a canary than it does in the coal miner. That's why they use the canary. Because if the canary was dead in the cage, the coal miner knew he had to get out. But the canary would be his sentinel. It would tell us that it was toxic. With animals, our testing with them are showing high levels of toxicity. And it could be why our animals are having a harder time with some of the disease. So this slide is some of the questions you could ask that will support you in feeling more confident that that oil is truly pure. So use this sort of as your checklist when you go to look at purchasing different essential oils. So we're going to talk about 7 oils that you could start using today. And each of these oils have its Latin name. And it's important when I talk about the essential oils that you use the appropriate Latin name, the appropriate botanical name. Otherwise, it could be a hybrid, it could be a other plant, and it's not going to have the properties that I speak to today. So lavender, Lavandula augustifolia, which is a true lavender. And in France, aromatherapy is, as all French things, an incredible art. And Lavandula augustifolia is coveted. It is a beautiful medicinal essential oil. There are other lavenders. Those are not the same. Lavandula augustifolia is very versatile. It's one of those essential oils, if all else fails, use it and it'll probably balance it. It's a harmonizer. It has relaxing effects, and in its pure form, in its therapeutic, genuine form, it will actually help heal burns almost instantaneous. It balances energy and relationships, and it is one of our most highly studied medically, and it's one of our most highly adulterated because it's so popular. For instance, if 10 tons were grown, they may have exported 100 tons. Listen to that again. If they grew 10 tons, they may still export 100 tons. which means something was adulterated along the way. Peppermint. Peppermint is highly regarded for digestive ailments, and that's why we still get our little mint at the end of our meals. It also improves concentration. It will also help to be an appetite suppressant. It cools heat, so those of you who understand traditional Chinese medicine, anytime you have a hot situation, the peppermint can cool it. And it's high in menthol, so people who use methylatum for different musculoskeletal injuries, for inflammation, peppermint can be very helpful there. And it also invigorates the channels, so it helps to move qi and move stagnant blood. And it's very helpful for teeth and gums. So initially, when you look at peppermint, has it's integrated its way as just a flavoring. It was used to help in the toothpaste. It was used to help us with digestive ailments, etc., used to cool inflammation. We just moved from the actual biological substance, the essential oil of peppermint, and moved into a chemical model. Now we can move back to the actual biological model. Lemon. Again, we talked a little bit about how important it is that this is organic lemon. It's a very good, strong antiseptic, and a lot of our cleaning products to this day still smell like lemon, because that's how we started using cleaning. We would use the peels of lemon and make lemon water in order to clean. It has a very strong effect on the immune system. It can serve as an insect repellent, which again is one reason they cleaned with it in a home, is to decrease the amount of bugs that came in the home. From a Chinese medicine standpoint, it's an astringent for the blood, and it will warm and move the channels or even circulation. Helichrysum. So if there was one oil that I could have, and I wasn't able to have any other oil, Helichrysum is the one that I would choose to have. It is very regenerative to tissue, incredible for skin conditions because of its regenerating nature, improves nerves and circulation, and it moves very strongly any sort of blood stagnations from a Chinese medicine standpoint. And it will stop bleeding. This is the oil that if you could have any oil in an emergency, this is the one. My dog got hit by a car, and I was at work. I came home and they said something's wrong with the dog. I went in the backyard and she was blue. And so I quickly grabbed my Helichrysum and dropped several drops in her mouth. And I did a few acupuncture points. Then I remembered that I should rush her to my office and do an IV therapy. So on the way to the office, I called another veterinarian and said, my dog just got hit by a car. She doesn't look good. Can you meet me there? And what had happened is her spleen had broken in two and had fractured. And so the Helichrysum was able to stop that bleeding. And she's 17 years old now and still with me. So I'm very, very grateful for this oil. Our next oil is frankincense. And the one I'm talking about here is the Boswellian Cartier. And again, there are different types of frankincense. Some are a bit stronger. This is kind of a general frankincense. It was the holy anointing oil. It's a very high sesquiterpene oil, therefore it can cross the blood-brain barrier. This is the oil that I anoint all anesthetics with. This is the oil that I anointed my child when she was born with, who had an APGAR score of 2 because the cord had been wrapped around her neck twice. And again, it's going to help oxygenate the brain. This is the oil that I would put all over the head in the time of a car accident, along with the Helichrysum. It's very stimulating. It elevates the mind. This is why they meditate with frankincense. It helps to overcome stress and despair. And it's very supportive for the immune system. And it's very tissue healing. And frankincense, along with lavender, are the only 2 oils that I use with cats in any undiluted form. So frankincense is beautiful for anything that needs to heal in a cat, and quite safe. Geranium. Geranium is a very strong antifungal essential oil. It's very good for skin, and it's one of the best for releasing negative memories. And many of our animals, and certainly our guardians, are holding energy of negative memories. And so geranium is my first go-to essential oil for helping with the human-animal bond and some of the energetic exchanges. So I always say geranium is sort of my little purifier. It helps to clean everything off and create really healthy boundaries. Ravensare, very good oil because it has, again, a wide variety of use. Most essential oils are going to be having a nice overall general use for many different things, and some will be better at some of these properties than others will. But remember, the plant didn't make the essential oils for us to bottle it. The plant made it for their own use. And because the plant cannot walk to the store and get what it needs, it makes everything. But Ravensare, again, is a very antiseptic essential oil, and it's very supportive to nerves and the respiratory system, and it's also gentle. So the essential oils I chose to highlight here were oils that I knew were very gentle and that were very safe to use, and generally had a variety of uses. So as you start to get into them, if you had just these 7 for the animals to choose from, you would probably be able to pick 1 or 2 and get the job done. So this is a photo in Costa Rica when I went there to help, again, just promote rainforest conservation. And what I love with this quote is that there's actually 600,000 plants, and only 5% of them have been thoroughly investigated and recognized for their aromatic or medicinal advantages. And what I say is we actually live in the Garden of Eden. We have just lost the knowledge of using what Gaia has already given us. So as I spoke to at the beginning, I founded the Veterinary Medical Aromatherapy Association. I invite all of you to go to our website, vmaa.vet. Again, vmaa.vet. And go ahead and read through what we stand for. What we're trying to promote here is animal veterinary medical doctors, veterinary technicians, and aromatherapists with an animal interest, so that we can promote education, we can promote standards of excellence, and we can also provide outreach so that animal guardians will have a resource to go to that will help them know how to use aromatherapy with their animals, especially since it's over the counter. It's really important that this is a nonpartisan invite, and that whoever, if you have a certain affiliation with an essential oil company, that affiliation stays at the door. And we're going to come in and we're right now going to be promoting standards of excellence in animal aromatherapy. And so I am inviting all people, irregardless of their affiliation with any particular essential oil company. If you want to learn more about my courses or even schedule consultations, the information is here. I've provided a little bit about my veterinary medical aromatherapy course, and you can go ahead and go through the slides to see what the syllabus is and what you should expect from the course. And I offer a 10% off the full price for any VMAA members or AHVMA members. So Module 1 is just a little bit about what oils are, what they can do, and a lot about understanding quality and testing toxicity, side effects, cautions, etc. Module 2 is really about techniques. So all the different techniques for use, how to dilute, when to dilute, what to dilute in, selection of those different techniques, when I would use what, okay, and then my clinical studies and the role of those clinical studies in what I'm presenting. Module 3 then is really my materia medica, the indications and methods of use for essential oils, from a prevention or a detoxification or first aid model. And our last module is general case studies, combination therapy, and different recipes or protocols for use. And then we touch a little bit on our environmental responsibility, which basically means some essential oils are becoming extinct and what we could use instead.